There's a lot of mysteries in the Bleach anime series, but one of the biggest ones has got to be, how in the hell do you pronounce this asshole's name?
Powerful Nerdcast assembled!
Stay dandy, baby. Greetings, Bleach fanboys and fangirls. It's time to take a look at episode 2 of Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War. An episode which brings us some new characters, some old characters, and we even finally get our intro for this season, which is very pink. This episode is a beautiful, blood-soaked trip down memory lane, getting to see the return of a lot of fan-favorite characters, whether they be Shinigami or Arrancar, or even just the main cast themselves. This was another solid episode of the series, which is finally starting to show that the Wandenreich is not fucking around. But before we get to that, it's time to appease the YouTube algorithmic gods. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you're loving my content, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. And you could also consider checking out my Patreon, where you can make a very small donation to help out this channel. But let's go ahead and get into the episode proper, episode 2 of the 1,000-Year Blood War. It's not just Soul Society and the living world which are being affected by the Wandenreich, they're also invading the home of the Hollows and the Arrancar, Hueco Mundo. This was made pretty clear from the last episode where we got to see that a number of Arrancar have been drafted into the Wandenreich army. Some new characters such as Asgiaro Ebern, not to mention Looters, who ended up losing an arm in the last episode and ends up losing his life at the beginning of this one. This episode makes it painfully clear that the leader of the Quincy does not tolerate any bullshit, and if you even get on his wrong side, you're probably going to be killed. So Looters ends up getting decapitated and Ebern not shortly after, basically eliminating these brand new Arrancar characters, so sorry if you got attached to them. Besides, the Quincy leader can just get more Arrancar if he needs to. In fact, he happens to have one in captivity, a very important one that you might remember. Former Espada and current ruler of Hueco Mundo, Holly Bell, has been captured. And again, this is also just to demonstrate how powerful the Quincy King is, because she was immensely powerful, but of course, she was simply captured along with all of the other Arrancar, including some classic ones who make their reappearances in this episode. So we get to see the return of not only Nell 2, but also her companions, Dono Chaka and Pesh. But Dono Chaka has been captured and he's somewhere else. The implication is he could even possibly be dead. The fact of the matter is, the Wandenreich are taking over Hueco Mundo and gathering any sort of strong force that they can. And that's what leads to Nell 2 running to the living world to find Ichigo yet again to beg for his help. And of course, Ichigo and his friends, being the Boy Scouts that they are, decide that they're gonna go ahead and try and save their friends. Aside from Ishida, who wants nothing to do with this because, you know, fuck Hollows. And if it wasn't made painfully clear from the last episode, the Wandenreich are associated with the Quincy. They are them, in fact. They've been planning this big invasion for a very long time. So you can only imagine what's going on in Ishida's head right now when he realizes that this group that he's technically associated with is about to go to war with Soul Society. We also get some reactions from Ichigo and his friends when they learn that Soul Society, of course, has been invaded, not to mention the official confirmation that Sasakibe is indeed dead. They even hold a funeral procession for him in this episode, and while Yamamoto doesn't really show it on the outside, you can tell that he is deeply disturbed by this, by losing his longtime friend. Sometimes the Bleach world can suck. Even when you're dead, you can die again. We also get the return of fan-favorite character Kisuke Orihara, who assists Ichigo and his friends as they make their way to Hueco Mundo. And upon arriving, they get to see that it's currently under the control of the Wandenreich as they're making their way across the desert, collecting any strong Arrancar or Hollow that they can find, hoping that they could somehow bring them into the Wandenreich ranks. But most importantly, this is an introduction to our first major villain of this arc. No, it wasn't those C-list Arrancar, it's going to be Quilge Opie. And yes, I almost certainly just mispronounced his name. Can anybody tell me properly, like in the comments, how to perfectly say this guy's name? Because I've heard everybody say different things. Everything from Quilge to Quilge to Quilge. I don't know how to say it. All I know is, this guy's insane. He was one of the best introductions to how crazy the Quincy could truly be, and he has the designation of J, the Jail. And basically, this guy is hard fucking core. They really establish how insane he is early on by lining up all these various Arrancar and putting them through a test of strength. And this test involves impaling all of them with a spear. If they survive, maybe they have the possibility of joining the Wandenreich. On top of all this, Quilge seems to get sort of like a sick satisfaction from doing this, again, just painting him as an absolute psychopath. However, unbeknownst to Quilge, there are some pretty strong Arrancar amongst these group, some of them which worked directly under Aizen, and more importantly, we get the return of the Tres Bestias. Yes, the 3 Arrancar women who worked directly under Hollybell, and they make one hell of an entrance in this episode. This episode made it painfully clear that they're not going to censor too much. In fact, there's going to be a ton of ridiculous gore and bloodshed as these 3 women just absolutely tear the assholes out of these Quincy's. In fact, I think my favorite scene in the entire episode is when this one chick just decides to backhand this dude in the face, and it straight up just makes his head fucking explode. And of course, these 3 women want to get revenge for the capture of their leader and master and mentor, so they decide to go after Quilge himself, who doesn't seem like he's going to be an easy opponent. In fact, the episode ends with Ichigo arriving on the scene, only to see everyone defeated, coming face to face with the jailer himself. So first things first, I think this adaptation is really good, mostly just because it's nice to finally see things in color. Reading the final arc of Bleach for me was cool for the character design and the fights, but a lot of the backgrounds and everything just sort of lacked. It was all just, you know, standard black and white, which yes is typical for manga, but I always noticed that Kubo was kind of like a minimalist when it came to his backgrounds, and it didn't lead to a lot of really interesting atmosphere. That is something that the anime adaptation is absolutely dripping with. It is bleeding with an amazing use of music and color. In particular, the color. I love the look of Hueco Mundo at night with all of the blue and green shading. It adds this weird, heavy atmosphere to every single scene, and it's a great way to introduce the character of Quilge, who, like I said, just chews the scenery with every single bit of dialogue that he has. I also really love that we got to see the return of Nell too. She was another fan favorite character from the Arrancar arc. Would I like to see her in her adult form? Absolutely, but still, it's really great to actually at least see her, and, you know, whether or not you like Pesh and Donda Chaka, it really depends on the viewer itself, but they are appreciated, and we need a little bit of levity, especially with all the ridiculous bloodshed and exploding heads that are happening in this episode. Also, we gotta talk about that brand new intro. Like I said, it's very pink. It's basically utilizing a lot of black, white, and pink colors, but I actually like it. It manages to pop really well, and it is also an excuse to see a lot of really cool action, and of course some teases for things which are going to happen later. Things that manga viewers are definitely going to recognize, and for people who only watch the anime, they can only be asking themselves, who are all these crazy characters, and what are they going to do? But overall, it's an opening which serves its purpose, which is to get the viewer excited for all of the upcoming battles which are going to take place, and trust me, there are going to be a lot of them. This final arc of the series, for the most part, is almost entirely dominated by action scenes, and I loved getting to see the Wandenreich in action in the intro, a lot of the key members of that organization, not to mention some brand new Soul Society characters that we haven't seen quite yet, characters which have been teased for quite some time, not to mention some crucial events which are going to be happening later on, and some more great shots of the Quincy King, not to mention that final shot of Ichigo. Manga fans know exactly what this shit is all about. Overall, I thought this was another great episode of the series. Again, another adaptation that I think is doing the manga justice and then some. I mean, all it really needed was a little bit more color, some bombastic action, and some of that great voice acting to bring it all together, and so far I think it really is working. And again, my favorite thing about this is that they're not skipping a beat. They're just getting right to it. It's almost as if Bleach never left. It's first and foremost being made for the fans who want to see the finale of the series. This one was great, mostly again for establishing how bloodthirsty and cruel the Wandenreich and their leaders really are. So I loved this episode. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I still don't think it was quite perfect yet. I'm still waiting for that episode which is just absolutely going to make my head explode. but I really want to hear from you guys. If any of you did watch the latest episode of Bleach the 1,000-Year Blood War, make sure to sound off in the comments section telling me about your favorite moments, your thoughts and theories and hopes for the future of this season. Did you have any favorite moments from this episode? I know I love that moment where the three girls came in and just wrecked some Quincy ass, but what about you guys? And of course, what do you think about this brand new villain of Quilge? And how the fuck do you pronounce his name? Well, there it is, guys. Thank you so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.